everyone. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for joining me. I am live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, I still have those platforms. And just an update for everyone. I was locked out of my Twitter account the day before the inauguration. Go figure. And although they did unlock the account, they never specified what aspect of the so-called civic integrity policy I violated. So who knows what area I'm not supposed to talk about that could lead to the permanent suspension and cancellation of my account. I've had that account for, I believe, 13 years now, and there is so much archival information there, live streams, videos, huge mega threads that I think are important from a public policy and sort of public interest perspective. So to the extent that I can avoid having that completely nuked until I can figure out a way to put the archive of tweets somewhere else, I am staying off of Twitter. So thank you, everyone. Hi, I'm vamping a little bit here, as I usually do, to let people trickle in from both Facebook and YouTube in the chat sections. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. And I have an important show because I'm bringing on two guests that I really need you to listen to and act upon after you hear their latest update. But let's see, we've got a couple of thousand people now online. So I do want to give a couple of opening remarks about the passing of a giant and a legend in the conservative movement and conservative media. And that is, of course, Rush Limbaugh. And I am, yes, I am emotional about it because this man for 20 years came in and out of my life at crucial times. Didn't know me from Adam, but had a huge influence on me as a recent college graduate in the early 1990s, inspired me in significant part to pursue a media career. And because of the non-traditional way that he entered the medium, convinced me that I could do the same, somebody without any kind of, heavy-hitting DC connections, and of course somebody who had always come from the populist wing of the conservative movement. He was a renegade. He was a paradigm buster. He never forgot where he came from, his humor, his kindness over the years. I could give you tons of personal stories, just things that you would never even think of, especially as someone as big a celebrity on the right as he is. When I had to flee my home here in Colorado Springs for the 2012 Waldo Canyon fire, I got an email from Rush Limbaugh out of the blue. I had no idea that he was paying attention to my plight. I mean, he was, of course, engaged deeply in fighting the corruption of the Obama administration and conducting business on his powerful radio show, asked me if there was anything I could do and could he send me an iPad because we had lost all of our worldly goods essentially after we were forced to evacuate our home at a second's notice. He was the quintessential happy warrior right to the end, and it was incredibly edifying to see him honored in the last days of the Trump administration properly on a national level. And of course, that triggered all the right, in other words, wrong people. But that was wonderful to see. He lived a very full, and I hate to use this word, it always used to grate on my nerves, but I'm reaching here now, impactful life, generations of patriots inspired to speak out, even in their own ordinary lives for conservative principles. So God bless you, Rush, thinking of his family. And I had been very close to his brother, David, who was a colleague of mine at the newspaper syndicate that carries both of our columns. So I'm thinking of him as well as the entire extended family. And of course, that family includes all of us who've been influenced by his leadership over the years. All right, without further ado, and I see a lot of people in comments also sending their condolences and memories of Rush Limbaugh. El Rushbo, right? El Rushbo from And all the jokes about Yorba Linda. I mean, there's so much. And Bo Snerdley is on Twitter, tweeting a lot of memorials and tributes to him as well. So we'll be hearing more about that, of course, in coming days. All right, I have Wendy Rittenhouse and Robert Barnes, who I'm going to bring in right away here now. Hi, Wendy, and hi, Robert.
Glad to be here.
It's really good to talk to both of you. And Wendy, I want to start right away. Of course, many of my followers on social media have been engaged in advocating for your son since these terrible events last August. First of all, how is Kyle doing?
Kyle is good. He's working to finish up school so he can register as a freshman in the fall. He wants to study something in nursing or pre-med. Yeah.
As usual, of course, in the helping industry.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked a lot about this, how this is your baby who's always the one who can be counted on to help the neighbors and clean the lawns. And what was it? Didn't he have a dog poop picking up business?
Yes, when he was younger. Yes, when he was probably about 7, 8, 9 years old, when we lived in Wildwood, he used to go to people's houses and they had dogs and clean up after them. Now he has his own dog named Milo.
And he's got a new puppy, right?
Yes, Milo, my.
And he's a handful, I hear.
Oh, yes. He's a baby, teething, biting everything.
Yeah. I love that. And I know that he gets that caretaking sensibility from you. You're the same way.
Oh, yeah. I miss going to work every day and taking care of my residents. I miss them dearly. Miss they were family to me. You know, I miss them. I truly love a lot of them, and I just miss them and love them. You know, I wish I can go back.
And just to remind people, you were working at a nursing home, and you'd been there for many years before you were forced to leave your job because of the security risks to you and your family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I can't put my residents in danger whatsoever, and I had to go. And my daughter worked at the same place too, and we've been out of work since the day that this happened.
Yeah. Robert, I want to go to you because you've joined Kyle's legal team. You're working with Mark Richards, the local attorney, and there was an important hearing that happened last week. Can you give people an update on what happened, why it was significant, and why it was, I think, very good sign and good news for Kyle?
No doubt. And it's really thanks to the people that have contributed to making sure he stays secure, making sure that he has adequate defense, making sure that he received the bail money. It's clear the prosecutor basically was telling a fake story, was spreading lies, using the bail proceedings as a way to lie about Kyle, to smear him in the court of public opinion, and basically was trying to revoke his bail, get him arrested, get him jailed, require his bail to dramatically increase in an amount the prosecutor probably presumed could not be reached or obtained, and to dox his address to the whole world and dox the address of his whole family to this whole world, even though the prosecutor told the court that at their old address, their neighbors are being harassed. Anyone who has followed this, and as soon as I made my appearance known, I was receiving threats to Kyle and his family being sent to me. So I represent all the Covington kids other than Nick Sandman, who all experienced extraordinary threats. I haven't seen anything like what's happened to Kyle is worse than what happened to them. That's the scale and scope and severity of the threats. The prosecutor knew this, but he decided to mislead the world and make it sound like Kyle had violated his bail. He had not. It was known all along he would be in a secure, safe house location. Prosecutor tried to mislead and gaslight the world about what was going on as to bail, just like he's trying to mislead and gaslight the world as to what took place in Kenosha last summer. And so it was critical that the court see through that, not be affected by it. There were people trying to stage protest outside the court. The prosecutor brought on family members of those people who had who died that night as a way to try to emotionally inflame the situation. One of those parents even flipped off the judge during the proceedings. So that was the kind of mindset of the prosecutor was taking, of a no-holds-barred approach to destroy Kyle's life, knowing that his actions, if he was successful, would put Kyle and his entire family in imminent danger of imminent harm, severe harm, serious harm, and of re-triggering of violent conflicts in Kenosha. And to their credit of the judge, due to the excellent advocacy in part of Mark Richards, due to the fact that the public had come to Kyle's protection, those who knew the real truth, being able that he was even in the safe house to begin with, that he even had bail to begin with, that he even had a legal defense, because normally a poor family gets railroaded in this system. And the system was designed, and the way this prosecutor was intending by his course of behavior was to legally lynch Kyle before he could ever have his day in court and the truth be known. And the judge saw through it. And the judge remembered what happened in Kenosha. And what happened in Kenosha were outside agitators coming in and violently attacking that community. And it was not Kyle doing that. It was a lot of other people doing that. And so the court refused to increase the bail, refused to issue an arrest warrant, refused to change the bail terms, noted that, in fact, it was very common in this kind of situation, for someone to have a safe house, knew that it was very common for defendants not to give their address for a wide range of reasons, and never in his history had he ever seen a request for a bail increase or bail revocation on those grounds. He also refused, quite correctly, to give the address to publicly dox Kyle or his family to the world, and refused to even give it to the prosecutor, recognizing that, unfortunately, prosecutor in this case can't be trusted with that information. And so it was a huge win, a critical victory for Kyle, and it was only made possible because a lot of people came to defend Kyle and didn't defend his constitutional rights in this process.
Right. And I have a couple of follow-up questions for you, but Wendy, I want to go to you real quick. How did Kyle feel about having to sit through such a hearing and listen to all of these lies being spouted about him and your family? Particularly this idea that somehow because white supremacy card was invoked, this whole thing, lies told about, what he knew about the people who were in this bar, and smearing of his integrity and character, and you and your families as well.
Kyle is a very strong young man, and I'm very proud for him just sitting there listening to the ADA Binger, and it took me a lot of strength to just sit there and listen to it. And with everything going on, my son's not, like I said, my son's not a white supremacist. He was never in a militia group. And it just makes me sick to my stomach that people thinks, and talking about Kyle being a white supremacist and in a militia, he is none of that. And that day at Pudgy's, I take ownership of it, because he asked me, Mom, can we go? Because we were eating lunch. A couple nice gentlemen, came up and asked us. And, I take ownership of it.
So Robert, the address was put under seal by the judge. Is that correct?
Yes. That's only the court and law enforcement know the address. The prosecutor's office and the world does not. One of the terrifying things, by the way, that the prosecutor tried to use this case for, and the prosecutor is using this case in a very dangerous way that's going to impact everybody's rights everywhere. But part of that was he claimed that the public had a right to know Kyle's address, which is absolutely absurd. And then secondly, look at Project Veritas had its Twitter account taken off because it simply did filming outside of a public figure's public house.
Right.
So how in the world is that world supposed to exist? And then a kid who's under imminent threat by a wide range of people. People were on social media yesterday calling for posses to be organized to identify where Kyle and his family live to cause them harm. And Twitter, by the way, is doing nothing about those accounts. On the other thing the prosecutor said during the proceedings is he said bail was a privilege. He actually was trying to claim that the 8th Amendment no longer exists to the U.S. Constitution, and was trying to use Kyle's case to help set that kind of precedent. To the court's great credit, the court said, I took an oath to the Constitution, and I'm going to enforce it. And that includes a right to bail. But it shows the scale of it. There's been all these lies told about Kyle that, trying to say the OK sign meant something other than the OK sign. Barack Obama, Beyonce, Jay-Z, every scuba diver in the world knows this is OK. I brought suits. Fairbanks, where a court recognized it's liable to say that. The only reason the prosecutor could get away with it is because he's filing it in court proceedings, knowing he has litigation privilege. He would never say this in the court of public opinion separate from it because he knows it's a lie and a libel. So it's what Kyle is subject to is extraordinary. It's a legalized lynching is what the prosecutor is trying to do. And it's only thanks to ordinary, everyday people coming to the defense of Kyle and his family that he's going to be able to have his constitutional rights preserved and protected, and his life and his family kept safe during all of this.
Absolutely. What's the next step? What's the next hearing? Where do you go now?
So there's a hearing scheduled for next month. It's anticipated. There is a trial calendar, but it's likely to be continued. There's a lot of evidence gathering that still has to be going on. So Kyle's defense team, we're putting together, crowdsourcing information to be able to get. There's so many people who witnessed those events that day. So many people that have filmed. And unlike impeachment proceedings, like the Democratic House members, there's actual rules of evidence in a criminal trial.
Right.
So you can't just put up, hey, I saw this video on Twitter. It's helpful. We need to authenticate it. We need to substantiate it. We need to be able to have the witness that can do so. And that's going to require massive resources because you got a poor kid and his family against the entire power of the state. And they had 3 or 4 different prosecutors involved in this case, and that doesn't even begin all the law enforcement officers involved, nor the media lynching mindset that is present, where they are bringing all of their resources against this kid. And so, in order to defend against it and protect against it, that's where the critical ongoing ability to fund the investigative work and to fund the security of Kyle's family is going to be the most critical aspect. That's what the prosecutor was trying to take away. The prosecutor was trying to prevent him from being secure, prevent him from effectively being able to mount his own defense. That critically lost thanks to the support of the people, but it's going to have to continue to happen if we're going to be able to have an adequate and full trial presentation to gather all this massive evidence from all the different sources while we keep Kyle and his family safe.
It is a monumental task, and it is an epic David versus Goliath, Kyle versus Goliath battle. So, Wendy, I want you to tell, we've got several thousand people watching on the Facebook and YouTube live streams, and many more will catch up after they're posted permanently, how they can help. And I think that this is what happens with stories like this. There's an immediate huge spate of coverage in the immediate aftermath of his victimization, right? And then people lose interest, or they sort of assume that it's all taken care of when it's not. They forget that you have to deal with this reality, you and Kyle and your daughters, every single day of having to live like fugitives or, undercover refugees and such. So tell us about freekyleusa.com and what people can do.
You can go to freekyleusa.com and go to the donate button and donate. Small amount, 5, 10, to whatever you feel like. It's all the donations goes to his legal defense, and it's run by me, and I'm the sole. I run the Free Kyle USA, telling where the money goes to, who gets paid, and what gets paid, and disperse. And it's going to cost a lot of money because Kyle needs help, and and people have been asking, where's the money going? I wish I can answer that before we did a new fundraiser for Kyle, and I have control over it. Only me, period.
And that's important because what I want to do is also lend, whatever I can in terms of trust factor this is where you need to go. This is the one place to go to. You have control over this account and how this money is spent. It's only going to be spent on one cause, and that is freeing Kyle. So freekyleusa.com.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Robert, you want to weigh in here?
Yes. So this is completely set up in the proper ethical manner to make sure it goes to the right people. Wendy has complete control of the entire process to make sure it gets this proper accounting, everything about it is proper. There's nothing questionable about this whatsoever. It's done as highly correctly as it can be. And the other context I put it in is people like Rosa Parks might have ended up a footnote in history, but for the large number of people who came to her defense and came to her advocacy to protect her constitutional rights. And because of it, people like her became world famous for helping change the world. But it was only thanks to all the people around her. And the same is true in Kyle's defense. By the only way that his constitutional rights get protected, the only way the truth is truly comes out is by ordinary, everyday people making that happen. So far, they've already achieved extraordinary outcomes that a lot of poor families would have already been railroaded by now. You would have got false confessions. You would have got false stories. You would have got people harmed, maybe dead inside. I mean, we've seen what's happened in some high-profile cases with people that got locked up. So it's what people have done is they've already helped save Kyle's life. They've already helped save self-defense in this country. They've already helped get the truth and justice out already. But in order for that to continue to happen, it's going to be entirely dependent on ordinary people coming to his defense.
Absolutely, you're right. And, social media has been a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it has fed the beast of Antifa and many of these violent left-wing terrorist groups, the double standards that are applied to peaceful, law-abiding patriots and advocates of self-defense, for example, versus how many of these violent left-wingers have run free and, of course, use these platforms and weaponize them to dox and harass and bully and terrorize their political opponents. On the other hand, it has also provided a means for Wendy, for your family to get the truth out. And if people look hard enough, they can still find it. And of course, to be able to raise the money that's needed to wage this uphill legal battle and make sure that your son remains free. So last question for you, facing this, this upcoming trial and looking at just how ruthless the prosecutors have been in trying to paint this false story of Kyle. How does he maintain, a sense of normalcy through all of this, especially at a time when things are as abnormal as they ever have been between COVID and the election and everything else?
He's a strong kid, I couldn't be even prouder of him. And I'm glad he's home with me and my daughters. He's very strong. I couldn't be any prouder, like I said.
And he celebrated his 18th?
Yeah, 18th.
That was December?
January 3rd.
Yeah. What did he do? What did you guys do? Anything?
We had no power where we're at. Yeah. Couldn't bake him a cake, couldn't get the car out of the garage to go get him a cake, and didn't have heat.
Yeah.
But we made it up. I made him his favorite food. I made him a steak and make him a cake. He was happy. And he was happy to be home with his family.
Yeah. You were together.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special kind of power. You may not have had electricity, but you had the power of your family.
Yes, I had my family. When he came home, I cried the whole time. And just seeing him, I thought I was going to break him because I gave him a hug so tight and knocked his head out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't thank the American people that donated to get him home. Those are the real heroes in my book. And I couldn't be grateful for them. And they will always have a place in my heart for that. And I just love them, to death. And these people that donated to Kyle, thank you on the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a chance to meet and be together and spend several hours doing the volunteer thing. So I'm not going to get all this on you.
Hey, I wore a dress, and I don't wear dresses.
Sorry, Robert, we're getting all mama. Step aside. We get our Kleenex. But my youngest is a 17-year-old boy, and I can't. I was glued to social media the night that it happened, and I just felt like, somebody's got to step forward. Somebody's got to do something. And this is always a painful journey. And it's something that a lot of people who bless them, they've never and never will have to go through anything like this. But, you're desperate. You're looking for anyone to help, anyone to stand up. And you always and we talked about this, Wendy, you got to trust your gut.
Yeah.
You got to trust your gut in the end. And there's always this impulse to defer to authority, to defer to people who are supposedly know better than you, but nobody knows better what children need than their own mom.
Yeah.
Like, not to get all feminist or anything.
Yeah. Especially my kids.
Right. But
yeah, definitely with my girls and Kyle. Yeah. They tell me, Mom, you're old all the time. And I'm like, really, kids?
I know. I hear it too. But yeah, you've been an incredible advocate for your son, who is just a remarkable human being. I hope to hug him as hard as you do at one point along the lines in celebration, I hope. And very grateful, Robert, that you're on board with this legal team and that good things are happening. It restores in a small way, my faith in a justice system that has been so unjust to so many people. Yeah. All right. So there you go, everyone. That is our update on Kyle Rittenhouse. Thank you so much for your time, Robert Barnes, Wendy Rittenhouse. Send all of the love of all of the folks in our comment section to Kyle and to your daughters, and we'll catch up again soon. FreeKyleUSA.com. Go there, help, do it, support him. All right.
Thank you, Michelle. Talk to you soon.
You bet. Take care. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.